Oh, she might sis.
Okay, so here we are now, still up here on Gull Lake, and we're continuing the interview with Mom and her brother Bob, and now we have a special gal coming in on the scene, and we just covered a bit about her story and her coming in onto the scene, how important that was in your family, and before you going overseas, and what was happening in life at that time. So
I had to make sure she measured
so
up
it's
to my brother,
1950,
so I had to
right
check
now
her
it's
over.
1950. 58. Okay, so now let's take it back. Aunt Lucy, we are going to continue on with the conversation of asking about when you had first met Uncle Bob and how old you were, and then upon meeting Marie, his mother, at the Klein family's residence, and then coming over and then meeting the rest of the family in Chicago.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, when I first met
You got to talk loud.
Uncle Bob, he went off to Germany and I followed him in 1958. We were there a year and a half. I had Terry, my first baby, born there. Came home from Germany and stayed with Grandma and Grandpa Hakes at 5129 West George. And that's where I met Dolores and Michael and Ron and Billy at the house. And I stayed there for 3 weeks until my nephew was born in St. Louis. My niece was born in St. Louis. I went home to help babysit my nephew, and by surprise, my husband was there home from Germany, and I didn't know it. And
Really?
it was a wonderful, wonderful time that we all had. And then we went back to Chicago, and we rented an apartment on Ridgeway in Chicago. And Dolores was living on Melrose Street with all her children. And it was just a grand old time.
Now
And
let me ask you this: was that something that you saw in your plan, was to move away from St. Louis and move to this to your new husband's hometown? I mean, how was that for you?
It was
leaving.
tough.
Yeah, how was that for you leaving what you knew and certainly going to Germany there for a time, and then your whole life has changed.
A new
now.
life, that's right.
And was your new husband's family supportive of your life and who you were and what was happening?
Yeah. Well, it was very unusual at the time for any young girl at the age of 20 to walk away from all her friends and family and move to Germany.
Yeah.
And then come home and move to Chicago. And it was difficult for the first couple years in Chicago because I had very few friends. The only one I really knew was Dolores. And the friends I did find were her friends that we played poker. And we have some great stories about our time with our girlfriends playing poker while the guys were home babysitting.
Did you guys do that? So Mom, the both of you. Now, what were your thoughts of her when she came back? Now,
Well,
after
I had to make sure she measured up to fit my brother.
and it sounds as if she did after all these years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I mean, at first I was very, very.
You know, raised in St. Louis
Particular.
and raised in Chicago is two different, you know, neighborhoods,
Besides,
environments.
I was very close to my brothers, both of them. So I wanted somebody to be very, very.
But I have to
perfect
say
for me.
one quick thing. When Lucy came over to Germany, I have a picture of this in my mind. At the airport, another fellow that had a car with his wife came in to pick up Lucy at the airport at Frankfurt, Germany, Rhine-Main Airport, and Lucy came out of the airport and she had a luggage there and she dropped it.
I dropped it and went running.
Come running and dropped it in a run and gave me a big hug.
Is that right?
So that was just beautiful.
That was wonderful. And your mom
That was so
not,
important for you. You were over there.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
late 50s, and you really, Aunt Lucy.
Well, I
you
didn't
really
want her
had
to
a heart.
feel lost, you know.
You had
that-
a heart that you were going to be supportive of
Right.
life, and something that was instilled within your heart, and that's something that I think that the both of you have. Bob's sister, Dolores, and the wife, that there was something in both of you women have really committed, faithful, loyal hearts to family, to husband, to life, no matter what it takes. It's a hard thing. You were over there, came back, left your family. You did the same thing in a way. You were in Chicago, picked up, found a man, moved north.
Yeah.
And you moved away from your family. So you guys get that about each other.
Oh,
But-
absolutely.
But to keep in touch, we would pack the kids in our little car and often drive to St. Louis, and Pete and Alice were so kind, they put us up there. We could stay for a week or two, and we would go there often, so we learned their family and their two kids. We just became close.
Well, we had my St. Louis family and then my Minnesota family.
Right.
Yeah.
And all our kids grew up together. My kids couldn't wait to get up to Brainerd and whoa.
Yeah.
What?
So something that's
you
really
pass Pine
interesting.
Beach Road.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? The realization of the importance for you to value your family and value the time spent with the family. I think that us as kids, me as cousins to your kids,
That's right.
even to this day, we are so close. We're bonded, and we can pick up at any point in time and connect with each other in such a love and care because you all instilled that in us. It was
Right.
You made it important. It was important for you guys when you
Right.
to get back and see your families. It was important
Very important.
for you to do that. It was important for you to do that, and then it was important for you
See,
all
it
to do that together.
It became almost like blood relatives, although they weren't, but it's very akin to blood relatives.
Yeah.
What you had.
Yeah.
But, you know, years ago, Jimmy Lindner was interviewed on some show on television. And he said something that just was so profound to me. He said, God, family, fishing. And it's true. God and then family. And that's what we're all about, just sticking together. We don't have to talk to each other every day on the phone. If it's 3 years from now, we're still at the same point in our life. Still family.
But it's
Yeah.
never 3 years.
But
Well, it's not,
Lucy's
but-
got an important thing to say about who raised her, though.
My,
If there's time.
I would love to hear that, and I do think that I want to get to that at the beginning of the next phase.
Okay,
I want to.
yeah.
I have that line of questioning right here
Okay.
to cover that. But let's before we move on with this piece of video I'm shooting now is. What were your thoughts before we get on to the next thing of who was this? Who are these people that you're connecting with? Well, Richard, Dick Hakes,
Yeah.
Dolores,
My father.
Marie, Russ. What were your? I mean, what were you seeing when you came? I mean, you're new, you're young.
yeah, it was very, the hard part was being, because I didn't really know anybody here.
Yeah.
And Dolores at first for about 6 months or a year didn't like me. I think she was very jealous of the fact that I took her brother away from her
Yeah.
because Dolores was a spoiled brat.
Yes.
Yes. So you saw that. So your antenna was up, and you kind of thought that somebody's coming in on the territory, and so you were. But you obviously you have remained loving friendships with each other, 65 years with each other, right?
Absolutely.
And yet you were able to see that at the beginning of it that was the love and the care, and
We had a few grandmothers that were still alive, so
Yeah.
Lucy bonded with our grandparents, so it became
Just
a
Grandma
more tight
Hanks.
family because of that.
And I do recall something that I always thought was really special growing up and seeing when we would come to see you all, was that you always referred to their mom and dad as mom and pop.
Oh, always, yes. In
What was
respect.
in that? What's behind that? I always thought that was so amazingly special, as it should be. I mean, I
Well,
really always so touched by that.
Grandma Hakes, when I moved there, she said to me, "Thank you for choosing my son Bobby, and welcome to the family."
Now, how about your labors in the kitchen and the laundry? What did she tell you about that? Remember, you do the cooking.
Oh, when
This
I
is-
first
this is
moved there,
good.
she said, "All right, you like to cook. It's your kitchen. I do all the laundry."
Is that right?
So
That's
they had a mutual
She
deal.
was setting
going
up
on.
boundaries,
Well, yeah,
and also for you to
yeah.
do
Well, you
things
can't have
like.
two women in the kitchen,
Yeah.
you know.
But then
Yeah.
I have to tell you about Grandpa Hakes. If I had spaghetti sauce slowly cooking on the stove, your grandpa would go and turn it off. I'd go, "Wait a minute. I just put the garlic and the cheese in there and he's turning it off?"
He loved to get involved with the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it was a great, great time to be with that family. Then we got our first apartment, and it was so cold. I had my second baby, Linda Lou,
Now, are you on Ridgeway?
On
Is this Ridgeway apartment? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a one bedroom, or what was
There
that?
was 2 bedroom, but
Okay.
we had a space heater in the kitchen.
Okay.
Only one heater, space heater.
And
Do you
yeah,
remember
and-
that address, by the way?
Uh,
Ridgeway Avenue, Ridgeway
Ridgeway,
Street?
just north of,
Milwaukee.
no, it wasn't Milwaukee, it was north of Belmont.
No, a little north of Belmont.
About 3 blocks north of Belmont. It's 32, about 3620 or something like that, Ridgeway.
And so then it was so cold in that apartment with the baby that I told Bob we had to move. So we did. We rented a place by Dolores and Ron and the kids. They were on Melrose. I was 1 block away on School Street, right down the street from Cicero Avenue.
Well, that means you were right very close to where Grandma Lindner's.
Right.
Had family.
We used to walk over to Grandma's all the time on George.
Because she had a brother or something there, I think Pete or somebody at a grocery store over there on School Street.
Yeah, that's talking about Ron's parents.
Oh,
I'm talking
Ron's
about,
parents,
up on
yes.
School Street.
Hendrickson.
Yeah, they were on Henderson,
Yes,
right? But
yes.
they had somebody or another on School Street, I
Yes,
think.
and so we had a lot of meals, backyard barbecues. First time I met Mary Rooney Furchek,
Yep.
Calistro Furchek,
Yep.
was on School Street at Billy's birthday party, I believe. And so then I started meeting the Dolores's friends and Bobby's friends, and so I started getting,
More comfortable.
yeah, Ann Thielen and I became close friends. Carol Stump and I got to be good friends. So I started picking up my own.
Only 2 people call me Bobby, Dolores and Lucy. Everybody else calls me Bob. The
Bob.
only 2 that call
Nobody
me Bobby.
calls him Bobby.
No, that's a nickname that's only really just for the people who are closest
It's a
to you.
term of endearment.
Yes,
That's
it is.
right.
Yes, it is. Okay, hang on.